Good evening. I'll call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hampden Selectboard being held in the Townhouse Auditorium, April 2nd, 2025, 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is anyone else recording the meeting other than ourselves? No Kristen? No Sarah? Okay. All right, if they come later on, it's good.
We're not, I know, we'll be selling those copies later.
They'll be tardy.
Do you want to call your meeting?
Oh, yes.
All right, I will call the Wilbraham Select Board to order. Also joining the Hampden Select Board on this meeting of February 2nd, 5:30 at the Hampden Townhouse.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes, Mike Squindo is trying to be in at least for the first few minutes, I believe.
I think I saw his name already.
And will join us in person in a bit.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Good.
Very
We
good.
brought you up to the big room this time. Okay, from
Yes.
kind of an upgrade.
You turn the heat on.
Maybe we turn the lights on you. Yeah.
Got the button for their chairs, Tom?
We have some minutes, but I'm gonna forego those. Get to the main point so they can, our guests can.
And Craig won't be joining us tonight, so we typically vote minutes with a full board. Whoa.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, where are we?
I will share, there was a discussion at Monday night's meeting among the Wilbraham Board, and our thinking is basically, and I thought we closed out at the end of our last joint meeting along these lines, that we feel like the way the regional agreement is currently drafted is something with which we are relatively comfortable and very willing to acknowledge and consider the concerns that the Hampden Board has. Our feeling is that if you want the agreement to somehow reflect something other than what exists, that we need to hear what you're thinking.
I think it was fairly clear. We talked about equity. I mean, we're all in agreement that the way it's set up now for Minichog, nobody has any issue with. It's a jointly owned building. We jointly have a stake in it. We jointly participate in upgrades and repairs. And when we're done, it's still the property of both communities. I think the issue here, and I think Craig and Don both said that last time, is that if the town of Hampden participates in an upgrade or repair, putting capital into it, is there a return on that equity purchase, if you will?
Agreed.
And I think that that's kind of where it went. Everything else to that point was historical, but I think we need to look forward. Brian, I think, has worked this week, and I don't know if he shared it with Nick, but I think he's got a fairly good proposal that he shared with the board, right, Don? I think,
Well, let me go back to your beginning statement. You said that you were fine with the amendments, the way they are?
We are in general, specifically around the issue of the sharing of the middle school, and from our thinking, it already should have been treated as a regional building because it's got all of our middle schoolers in it. And I'm in agreement that I think we all came to that sense that we want to hear what you're thinking in terms of some way to participate in ensuring that the building is healthy and safe for our kids and not make investments into a building beyond what is reasonable and what both towns would, of course, have to agree to before any capital project moved forward. And the idea of getting some sort of a return on investment, I believe our agreement at Monday night's meeting was that we're certainly willing to entertain that. We need you to show us what that looks like or what you're proposing that to look like so that we can discuss it.
As the amendment stands now, the amendment, the middle school would be considered a regional school, and we would split the capital costs.
A portion of the capital costs based on the
over the
population.
limit, what was the same limit?
35,000. I guess the question, because I'm asking this question because the school committee can just say to us, this is the amendments we want, and we're obligated to put it on the ballot, on the town meeting,
On the warrant, right.
right? So I'm wondering is, do we just say, go ahead and we'll see what the people say, or?
I think that's a fair point. In fact, I've looked at the current agreement. I don't see where it says that necessarily in there, and because we never did it that way in the past, at least we hadn't been exposed to that in the past.
The current,
In terms of capital costs being pushed right to the warrant for Minichog.
You're talking about making it one
I think that's what you're
warrant
talking about,
article.
Don, right?
yeah, but they could,
Yeah.
yes.
He's talking
I
about the
don't,
regional agreement, is what I'm,
help me on this, maybe
I think
I'm,
it's two different,
The regional agreement as it stands now says that the school committee, if to amend, to amend the agreement, can just go to the towns,
oh, they can't, yeah.
select boards and say, this is what we want, we'd like these amendments, can you bring them,
Yep.
and we have to bring them to town meeting. So they could bring that, making the middle school a regional school to the towns to vote.
They don't need our buy-in to do it.
They don't need our buy-in for it.
That's fair, here, that's right.
yeah.
But I think they're asking for it, and that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Brian has,
well, he didn't hit anything, that was good. They got us outnumbered.
Brian has a draft of a thought.
Keep the door open in here.
So I'll give a quick overview. So last Friday, I had sent an email to the board with thoughts about potential cost sharing arrangement between Wilbraham Middle School. And then earlier this week, Don had suggested that I put it in a more formal memo, and that the board can discuss it. So I've done a lot of listening for both of the for that single joint meeting, and I've also talked to some people about the historical happenings of how we all got here, because obviously I wasn't around. So I tried to reflect my understanding of the current situation and the viewpoint from both Wilbraham and Hampden. And it seemed to me that some arrangement where Hampden could contribute to capital improvements to the building with a defined useful life for a defined term of years. So, so in the example on the second page, talk about hypothetically there's a capital improvement that's made that somehow we agree upon what the term of years of that improvement is. So hypothetically in this example, it's 10 years. And really, just to simplify it, if there's any remaining years left on that capital improvement when Hampden students are no longer in the building, then Hampden would be entitled to a refund in proportion to the cost per year that Hampden contributed for the capital improvement times the remaining years of the useful life of the equipment. This assumes that Hampden would pay up front for the capital improvement, and that it would be in the form of a refund. That's the idea. It provides Hampden with no equity, so to speak, in ownership of the building, which I think was a sticking point in the last conversation. And it addresses Hampden's concern that they're not investing in the building, and I guess, for lack of a better term, enriching Wilbraham in the sense that the building is in really great shape when it's sold, so it has more value. That's sort of the general framework. don't think that works quite as well if there's some type of shared debt. I think more thought would need to go into that if there's debt for these capital improvements, but in terms of, in capital improvement where Hampden pays up front, I think that might work. And the board had asked me to share that this evening.
And you folks have already looked at this and you had discussed this.
No,
We haven't discussed it.
Okay, so-
Email to us now.
Very good. Well, I'm going to let you guys do that. We would look forward to that.
Well, I think it's a great starting point. I mean, it lays out, I think Brian did a good job of summarizing a bit where Hampden stands on this. Again, this is not, you can't equate this to the Minichog building. But, so you're into, again, here you are here. If we put something into it, what's our equity stake? Brian did a good job of equating how we can look at that going forward. Something happens, the town of Wilbraham sells the building, and Hampden has participated in $1 million of upgrade to it with a $200,000 stake. The town of Wilbraham is going to get their money back from whatever, we should get a percentage of how we upgraded it into the value of the building. There may be things, based on what we've seen from the school department so far, that could have a 10-year life and have no value at the end. Seems like we're switching out computers, switches that are a capital item, but then at the end of it, there's zero value. And there would be no equity in that because you would buy in, we would buy in, and at the end, they either trade them in or throw them away.
Yeah, I hardly, like you, I hardly see those as capital expenses, you know, they.
But they're so expensive now, it
Threshold,
seems to hit that threshold.
they certainly don't
But
have,
if you're replacing all the windows, you're looking at $2 million, and Hampden's looking at $400,000 as part of it. What's the lifetime of those windows? 25 years? Assuming the building's around 25 years? And if it's gone before 25 years is up, there may be some return to us. If the building is continuously occupied for 25 years, then this is moot. You paid and upgraded it.
Came up, and I actually didn't think about it last meeting, but the 3-4 years ago, we took an MSBA project on with the middle school. And so they expect us to be in that building for 20 years by virtue of that. So
We did the same thing with Green Meadows when we did the upgrade.
it almost seems like, so I don't think we're gonna have a problem with some of that issue, conceptually at least, because it seems like we're gonna be committed to that building for a number of years anyway,
Right.
so.
Well, like I say, the window thing, for instance, you might say, if you're there and you're past what we talked about as the lifetime of it, and you're still there, there's no issue, because we both paid in, we got the repair done, and the building improved.
Okay.
I know, that's my quick thought. I think there's a solution.
how it's worded in the agreement is a whole other thing.
Right.
Well,
We can get a lawyer on it and add another 7 or 8 pages if you'd like.
yeah, there. But
I think as a framework, I would think this is a good starting point. I think my initial response in concept, and I'm not at all voting this, what I'm about to say from a financial standpoint, but it just comes to mind, is an absolute return relative to the upfront investment based on the time left of the useful life doesn't account for the depreciation value of any capital improvements. So I would just put that out there as a potential talking point, would be an initial thought, but again, framework-wise, I think this is a decent
Yeah.
framework to start from.
that's the note I made myself, was with regard to depreciation of the value of anything over time. I think that there's certainly some mechanics to look at, and just the question of borrowing, and it'd be lovely if you could just write us a check up front to pay off, and it would stagger our borrowing. We would all be surprised if either of our communities was in the position to fund a major capital project all at once. Like Mr. Squindo, I agree, this is a really good talking point. I think we need to talk a little bit
Well,
about,
I mean, about isn't the depreciation, just trying to think of my apartment building, isn't the depreciation, if it's a 10-year life, every year it goes down 10%. That's the depreciation.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think he's just referring to.
But in the
values
example,
there.
just because of the example given, right?
Yeah.
If,
Which doesn't show any reduction in value.
800,000, I'm sorry, if 200,000 is the Hampden share,
Right?
that's 20,000 a year. At the end of 8 years, there's a depreciation of some amount of money. If it's 10%, let's call it 80%, right?
Right?
But to get 100% of that upfront investment back doesn't reflect the depreciation. And I don't know that I'm actually saying this.
We're not asking for the 100% back.
No, he's talking about, Brian, I understand your point, there may need to be, but.
Yeah, no, but I think as a framework, it's fine.
Brian, do you see, I see where he's going with that, but maybe because some of the value has gone down a bit, it might be, you might have an equation to it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The other factor I would think is that some of the capital projects that we might undertake add no value to the building,
Except for the occupants.
except for the occupants. So I think that's something we would need to work through.
Well, like, it would just, like I mentioned, switches, things like that, which are loose parts inside, but a huge capital cost.
Lockers. I mean, if you've ever sold a building, you're probably not going to sell it as a school, so there's no value to the lockers. I mean, I just thought of that one. Or if you start doing gym equipment, I mean, there may not be any value to that. And again, I'm being nitpicky there, but it's something I think we need to work through. There's certain items that are not going to add any value to the building when you do them.
Well, would you agree this is a decent framework to start?
Yes.
It's an excellent starting point, yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand about the lockers.
Well, I mean, if a business bought it, they'd tear the lockers out. No value to it.
I know,
might
but.
change.
I just use that as an example. I mean,
No, but you're assuming that we replace the locker.
I guess my point is, I think there's items,
We're talking about we need all new windows.
Windows is a different issue.
Okay, so we get windows.
Yeah.
So that's something that's been replaced and we pay for. But I don't think we're talking about replacing the lockers.
No, it's a more of a loose part type thing.
I'm just thinking there's going to be there's going to be items that come up over the course of this, I would think, that add no value to the building. So how do we fit it into
Over
that?
the threshold and require a capital.
Yes.
Like I said, whether it's a,
What if they want new desks? I mean, there's all sorts of things. A new laboratory.
well, if you need lockers, we'll give you the ones back from Thornton Burgess.
Yes.
Exactly. Really, the market value, just take it as a donation now.
We're actually selling them to
But
people in town.
your feeling is, I guess, the position that building is in is because you put a new roof on it, that they're there at least 20 years.
I would
I
would think.
The unforeseen.
That's the,
Minus the number of years since we did it, so.
That's the
MSBA
MSBA.
requires,
and at the same time, I believe the school committee is looking to do another project there, as well as some of the elementary schools.
Yes, they have another project.
So, I mean, it looks like we're moving forward with that building for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that was the case, like I say, with Green Meadows, that if we ever took it out of service, we'd have to pay the MSBA back the money that
Yeah.
they fronted for the project.
I think we're in position to do that.
The way things are now, they take the money back in a second. State.
Yeah.
Us too.
Okay, so what do you think the next,
Keep that talk too.
share back some points?
Yeah, why don't you, Nick and Brian do it so we don't violate the open meeting laws?
I do think that we're going to have more conversation and do a deeper dive on the question of excluding.
Yeah, this is a basic frame, I told them to put together a basic framework, something we could, kind of nuclear arms agreement, kind of, talk about the big missiles first, then we'll get down to.
I'm not sure two's a small point, though. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
What's two?
Excluding pre-existing item.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite thing.
How'd you say?
And the reason is because you've done it before. In 2016, when the original First Amendment sort of thing, you carved out the roof. They said that Hampden would be responsible for the roof, and then Hampden wouldn't be responsible, I forget the exact wording, for other things, so.
Parking lot was the other, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think it's.
Again,
It's something.
it's a framework, I think.
I think we have to do number one, and maybe that'll be a little change in number two. Number one is,
Exactly.
let's see if we can't sit down with the regional committee and say, what capital improvements do you guys think we're gonna need 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line?
Right.
I believe that exists already.
Could be.
They probably
Yeah,
have it.
fair
we've
point,
got the capital needs proposed. I do remember that in those conversations about regionalizing, unifying at our building, the middle school in Wilbraham, there was also discussion about using, not trailers, but I guess they're trailers, right?
Modular classroom.
Modular classrooms, and so there were a bunch of conversations that went in slightly different directions.
If you look at the feasibility thing from 2015, a lot of them say, if you put the modular classroom, you should do this. There's no modular classroom, so we don't need to, like, for instance, they said, you need to run a second gas line. And a second
Triggered
sewage
a lot
line.
of things and never.
But that, it's not applicable now, so.
Great, I think we're on the path.
Do you want to talk about Hollow Road? That's fine.
Are we going to meet up at the Four Corners at any point?
Fine.
Glass of cider,
I'm
whatever
gonna,
we're supposed to be
Jill,
doing?
while we're all here, is the region gonna offer separate warrants for all the capital things?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe so, but
We had that discussion pretty
Because-
deeply last time, and
Because you're probably risking everything going down, you know,
Yeah, we've had that conversation as well, and that-
wait, separate or omnibus?
omnibus.
Yeah.
so we understand Dr. Slatter's position, but it's news, and for those of us that have been involved for 3 decades or so, we want to know why. Like, to make sure that that is in fact the required.
I think you can probably get an opinion both ways. I think that's what happened last time we went through this. We just went with the separate articles last time, right, John? And I think our board would prefer the separate articles.
And I think we're looking at one article, but individual votes within the article.
Well, the motion would specify, and if there's a question on an item, then it could be pulled, I think is how it would proceed.
Okay.
We have the assessment letter. This is back to you, Michelle. The capital items that we tentatively have on our warrant right now, are those still the ones you want to present? Or are there going to possibly be changes? And I speak specifically to the Fire Road parking lot one. Are you keeping that on?
there could potentially be a change.
Okay. Because we plan on signing the warrant tonight and posting it within.
Well, we still be no action, right?
Right, but if they wanted to bring something out to replace it instead, because again, I've made the concern before, I think the security upgrades, i.e. door locks, et cetera, should replace that. I think that's of a higher concern than making the paved road instead of 10 feet, 14 feet. You know, so. And certainly in our walkthrough through the school last year with Aaron at the time, and Brian was there as well, that seemed to be a concern they expressed to us, right, Brian, was the security and door upgrades. And honestly, I don't think you get too much pushback from the people in town to talk about the fact we need the doors safer and we need to be able to respond quicker in the case of an emergency, rather than the janitor sorting through the 100 keys on his key ring,
And is
like the old pictures.
Green Meadows?
That's Green Meadows. Yeah,
We have the same situation at Wilbraham.
exactly right. To me, that's a higher priority. And the town's already committed to doing the parking lot, working with you for the parking lot repairs.
You're looking at me for the parking lot repairs?
Well, you're retired. You can't sling a shovel like anybody else, Brian?
I can. I can sling it, that's for sure. So I guess,
Again, or?
gonna look at this, we can both look at it, we can send our thoughts to Brian, you can send it to Nick, he can get it to you guys, right? I mean, so we gotta do it, right?
Right.
You know, and we wanna meet again, we can meet at your place this time if you'd like.
You want to CC John or Michelle in on those conversations?
We only,
I've been seeing John, yeah.
Okay.
Huh? What?
You'll be able to find it. We have only one room that works unless we.
Okay.
Police station.
Yeah, I don't think I've been in the same room for a meeting, any joint meeting we've had here.
Hey, the place is huge.
We don't have that many rooms.
I think I've been in 3 different rooms in 3 different meetings.
That's all we have, trust me.
Okay,
We're out of room.
You came to our select.
right in the front of the, right in the front building, and then the last 2 here, yeah.
Wait to see next time. We'll be at the old Academy Hall.
Perfect.
What's a day? We'll pick a day? Couple of weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Want to do a Wednesday, or want to do it
Are you guys meeting every week or every other week?
We try to skip a week every month, more or less.
Okay, well, we can have you on a regular.
We'd be happy.
What's your next off Monday then?
The 21st.
Just Patriots Day.
Which is off for you guys, I
a
think.
Patriots Day?
Oh, so you're not off every,
Well, that just happens to be our off this
Yeah,
month.
we'll
Sometimes
take-
we
oh, it's
take.
not every other Monday?
No,
No,
no, no, no, no.
no, no.
You just pick one, right?
And, Wednesdays are doable, I think, or
Well, so you're off on the 22nd?
No,
Well, we're not. meeting.
22nd is
21st.
Tuesday.
No, we're meeting the 22nd. I'm
Yeah,
saying
we're
you're
not
off that.
Meeting the 21st.
No, we're not.
you're not.
I'm sorry, we're
There's
not
no-
meeting
there's no-
because it's
yeah,
Patriots Day.
Patriots Day.
Sorry.
Mike will be running that day.
Um,
It's not the marathon?
Yeah, My wife might run a marathon, not me.
Okay,
2nd or 23rd?
Are we looking at a Tuesday?
I would kindly
Do the
push for the
23rd?
22nd over the
Oh,
23rd. 23rd is my birthday, so. I could think of a few other places I might want to be on that one hour.
sure your wife's
Keep it a
birthday was
meeting a weekday.
That was a pre-scheduled meeting.
Doesn't matter.
22nd?
Yep.
22nd?
That gives us enough, that gives us 2 weeks to kind of go through
5:30?
this and work some things out.
5:30 again?
5:30 is great. We'll
We don't,
try and find a new location, Mike, okay?
perfect.
We're gonna go to their place, right?
Either one.
Well, they're off.
Oh, they're off, they're
We're
off.
gonna-
So
We're gonna do our stuff after. yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, very good.
Another room, well, maybe we'll have it at Thornton Burgess. We'll let you know. We'll let you know where we are.
Exactly. Map with clues.
I'm gonna put that in here. Select board. All right, thank you. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Board.
Appreciate the heat.
You
Let me
said the
thought about
22nd
it.
or the 23rd?
You said the 22nd at 5:30,
5:30,
30.
right?
5:30.
When we're ready to perambulate the town borders, we'll see you at the granite markers.
We want to have that in nice weather, right?
The last time it was done was my father, Art Booth, and that had to be back in the 70s.
Yeah,
You're
there's,
supposed to, you as selectmen are supposed to go to the
Youth
granite
markers.
markers at the corners of town. 10 years, I think, or 5 years? 10 years.
it's been, I think, that much since we talked about trying to pull it off.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We don't want them to go since we started moving, and every year we move a foot over.
Yeah. Don't get the one out in the woods.
On the off years, we've moved them a foot and a half back.
Taxes. Right.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Hey, guys.
What?
Thank you for coming over.
Thank you, guys.
Mike,
We're
glad you made it safely.
we're so programmed.
Exactly.
Mary Ellen's gonna give her a pitch now. What do we got next? The animal, control a little early for the animal control officer?
Bring up advice.
Yeah, you want to knock out the minutes?
Let's do the minutes. The March 4th, 2025 minutes, regular session.
Okay, so moved,
Second,
although
Oh.
the same thing at the end. Oh, is this the,
the corrected one?
no, this is the municipal meeting, okay.
That's municipal meeting. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I wonder why Craig didn't.
Municipal motion.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
So it was you and me, we'd have to vote yes
yeah,
or
all
no.
right, all
So
right.
moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. March 10th, regular meeting, I believe this is the regular meeting. All right, let's see, it's mostly budget,
Budget,
budget, more budget.
ambulance, and budget. Motion to approve.
Second, Any discussion, all in favor, aye.
It was an executive, she said.
Mark, I got one,
I don't have an exec here.
March 17th.
I don't know. Exec?
Regular March.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, regular March 17th.
Yep.
All right, what do we got, the minutes, the fire chief was here, new probation and firefighter. Administrative assistant, update, fire department budget review, water commission report, animal inspector position, oh, that's the annual thing that they have to do. Town meeting warrants,
Move to accept.
second, all in favor? Aye. And the executive session not to be released, March 17th, 2025.
Move acceptance without release.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, moving right along,
Hey, there she is.
the animal control officer has something to say.
Oh, you're on.
All right, bring it, Shelley.
All right. Yes, on March 14th, up on Burley Road, 23 Burley, where the Lovelings live. Their neighbor next door at 31 Burley Road, they have two dogs that, there are a couple of mixes, mixed breeds, and Matt Loveling was outside doing something with his car, and he had his little dog that's 6 pounds tied out. And the two dogs from next door came running over, and they had gotten away from the owner, and they went, and Matt got to his little dog that's 6 pounds faster than, but they got to him too, and they bit her under on the stomach. The owner came down, got the dogs, brought them back. But I guess 2 other times when Shonda Loveling, her daughter was walking the little dog on the street, these 2 dogs got away from their owner twice, like over the summer, and jumped on the daughter trying to get to the dog. And then the owner did come take the dog. So I quarantined them both at their home, 31 Burley, for 10 days. And they've been released since. But I had suggested that they, whenever they take them out in the yard, they should have a prong collar on them, take 1 dog at a time and muzzle them. Because if they get, one's 78 pounds, I think it was, and one's 90, compared to a 6-pound dog. And the owners of the 2 dogs said that they just don't like that little dog, the barking. But they go to doggy daycare in Windsor a couple times a week, so they like other dogs, but they don't like the neighbor's dog.
But they're leaving their yard, going to that yard.
Yeah,
So they're not under control.
no, and they have them in training now, but, my fear is that they're gonna get out when they, away from them and when the little dog's outside.
And when the daughter was walking the dog and they went after the dog, did they go after the daughter as well to get to the dog?
No, they were just jumping on her, but they weren't vicious towards her, but they were jumping on her, trying to get to her.
Get to the dog, yeah.
So,
And the bad dogs are in the old Munsell house?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
yep.
It's a clear case and not under control.
All right.
So before something happens again, I wondered if, you could help me come up with things that they have to do to make sure that doesn't happen.
So the dogs just play in the backyard, not on a leash or a run or anything like that?
So there's nothing to contain them in the backyard. Well, that's what I think.
Do we have to have a hearing for this?
Well, I was hoping not. They're very cooperative. 2 sisters that live in the Munsell's house.
Have you done anything formally with them and like a written letter to them or anything like that?
No, only quarantined the dogs and then released them. No, I told her I was gonna talk to you. I told them all I was talking to you. to see, you know, what, if we needed a hearing or what, you know, could happen.
And how were they quarantined? How were they quarantined?
Well, they had to keep them in their own yard
Yeah,
and leash walk them.
and they don't do that normally? I mean,
They would take them on the street, and they're pretty powerful dogs, and
Yeah, they-
if one tried taking them, they pull away from them.
yeah.
They don't have good control.
They injured the other dog, did they pay for the,
They said they would, and I told Matt to bring the bill over to him.
we don't know.
I don't know. They have.
So you said they needed, you recommended they get prong collars and a muzzle. Are they utilizing them, do you know?
When I had taken them off quarantine, they had not yet gotten it.
Yes, at least we'll reinforce the animal co-op.
Yeah.
Check and see if that's being done. And do they reimburse the owner for the expense, animal vet expenses?
We can draft up a letter.
All right.
So we're gonna draft, I guess, we're gonna draft up a letter saying that, you know, the animal control officer has advised us of the situation, that they've advised you to, that she's advised you to have prong collar and muzzle when you're walking the dog, keep under control, and to reimburse the owner. And any future complaints we'll have to take,
All right, will be dealt with.
Well, I told them if it happens again, it's not gonna be good.
I think that summarizes it, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think you put that on.
yeah. But I mean, I don't even think they should walk them in the yard without a muzzle on in case they get away from them,
yeah, right, it's,
in their own yard.
yeah,
But I mean, a caged muzzle so they can breathe and drink water.
yeah, I understand. And they don't have a run or anything there,
No.
really? Okay, all right, we'll draft, to make some notes. Okay, we'll draft up a letter and show it to you first,
Okay.
okay? All right,
Thank you, Shelley.
thank you, Shelley. What do you got, advisory? Give us advice.
Are we waiting for anybody else or just you two?
We may have some other people coming in, we may have some other things for, I think, 6:30.
How is it now?
So 9.
Oh, we're really moving along.
We're zooming
So
along.
in the event that other people are gonna appear, if you wanna take something else first.
No, you were at it. You were at it.
What about the annual town meeting warrant? Want to go over that again?
I think it's good to have advisory with this thing. Yeah.
I'd like to, sure, you wanna move forward?
Yes, well,
You want to be on camera, John, I think. You guys want to go? Actually, Doug, you got a microphone over there if you want, guys want to sit on that to be best. Yeah. That way we got you on record.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Copies of the current warrant right there, too.
But again, same thing, Donna, we are potentially changing school article, you know? And we can't just wholesale change it on the town meeting. It's quite a different thing.
I think,
well, they got
Unfortunately, our signature page says at the date, at the top there, we're saying date, and kind of implicitly saying, this is what's in there. Yeah, but we can't do anything about it, we have to put it in.
I know I'm coming to the party late, but why isn't the middle school deferred maintenance?
What do you mean different?
All the middle school problems, why are they not deferred maintenance? Since they've had study after study,
Yeah.
saying these are the things that need to be done, and they have not done them. Why is that not deferred maintenance and their total responsibility?
It is. That's my argument.
that's not the argument.
Well, okay, all right, I just want to be sure I'm on the right page. I'm saying to myself, why are we letting this?
That's why I want to see if we can get a carve out saying, like they did the last time, that the roofs.
That's why you refer back to that study and said, look, you identified these before, so.
Right, go through the things and say, these are the things that we're all.
We're not going to pay for these.
Too bad you didn't do them, but do them now.
Right,
When it's
and then-
twice as expensive.
And in the future, we'll look at the other stuff.
Right, something happened.
Yeah. Because they put that roof on, so they're there for 20 years.
That was the major cost right there. Yeah. Well, windows are enormously expensive.
Yeah.
They haven't done windows, have they?
No,
No, they did school, I think.
no, they've done,
It's in two parts.
actually, because I have,
Yeah.
Who else is coming back?
I think,
The rest of the board.
well, I know Kathy's not coming, but Sandra and Heather may be coming. We're posted for tonight, just in case.
Okay, were you meeting with anybody but us, or?
No.
Okay.
They had,
Did you get a chance? You've looked over the warrant articles, and you're fairly familiar with them.
Quickly.
I guess my issue is, why is there even a discussion about it? Because they can go forward with any question they want, is that the idea?
because the region can go forward with any
They can
question
go
they
forward
want.
with any question they want.
And our kids are in the building, kids are in the building now, so,
The issue becomes, where do you draw the line between maintenance and capital?
By the report, by the two reports that were done, and saying, this is what you need for maintenance, guys.
yeah, I've got both of them. They did $1.5 million for the roof. They did, in 2019, they did 131,000 for the PA system, the telephone and clock. And that was split between Sewell Road. And then they split between Sewell Road, a refrigeration and walk-in freeze with compressor for 98,000. And I asked the former, my finance director, if they do pay for any maintenance, and he said, there's no here, he said, no, the arrangements with Wilbraham indicate that we pay for the items that are less than 30,000. They do not provide any funding for maintenance of the building on their own. So that's why I want to carve out, that's why I want to go through the list and say, these are the things that need to be done, and you didn't know, your responsibility.
That building is about the same age as TW.
1 year different,
1 year difference.
1 year different.
So,
But we're built on dry ground. I'm sorry.
Our first floor is above ground still.
Not that we don't have some swamp area, but it's pretty far away.
Shut down a new school.
Huh? We don't need no
This
school,
doesn't pass, why won't they just go for a new school?
because they're not gonna get it.
Exactly.
Now with the great cost, I mean, look at the fact that we built Minichog for $80 million.
Yeah.
And you look at what East Long Meadow just did, East Long Meadow just did 175
Yeah,
for basically the same size district office, pool, the whole thing.
yeah.
And that's just, you know,
The high school was authorized, the total vote was authorized at 82 million.
right.
Because we built it during the Great Recession of
Right,
2008,
exactly.
we actually built that building for $69 million. I mean, we got an
Oh, that was a
incredible,
buy.
we got an incredible deal.
You want to be on that?
And the model,
We should have got two of them. We should have got two of them.
yeah, we sold one, and East Long Meadow got the profit.
What, the price of one?
But, you know, looking back, I mean, there were certain things that were not done in the high school project because we were very conscious of the costs, like replacing the stadium bleachers. We didn't do that.
Who just had to do that?
We didn't do that. We didn't air condition the building.
Right.
We only did a few sections, you know, the admin area, the preschool. Can't remember, there was a couple other things that in retrospect, you know, we probably should have loosened up a little
At the
bit.
price then, you should have.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But no, it was good, that was a good deal.
It seems like a lot of time on an issue that,
So are you saying we shouldn't sign it tonight? But they gotta get, they gotta get posted and mailed and green sheeted and,
Our public hearing is posted.
Right,
The
I mean,
assistance of Lauren.
they're looking for, whether it's official, whatever, it's the draft. My point is, I think we're looking, and I certainly hope that they're gonna change that article and get rid of that fire road thing. But they can't do it until they get another meeting.
Right, which they're having tomorrow night.
Right. So,
You're talking the school committee?
yes,
Yes.
you know, and I want them to change it, and we've been clear about it. We want them to, I want them to change it to fixing the safety concerns like they're doing for Hill Road. So I think it's Fuller Sunny Hill, changing the door locks, the whole thing. And put that money towards that.
Yeah.
What parent is gonna, nobody's gonna vote against it.
because of how much it is.
They could choose to bring this forward.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you know, school committee has the right to bring forward these articles, including whatever.
I know.
Thing
Any
is,
way they want,
Right.
individually.
you know, whether that's, you know, advised or not, is another issue.
Right. Well, I think we
discuss
mentioned
tomorrow
a couple of meetings that we would advise them.
School committee invited advisory to their meeting tomorrow night to discuss the budget. So we're going, I believe Wilbraham Finance was also invited, but they declined, my understanding.
Looking at their numbers, the change in the assessment letter, and basically, pretty huge jump for the Hampden part. You know, based on the year before, it went up 160, this year it went up over 200. And that's just in the minimum local contribution. But the discretionary, pretty huge jump.
That minimum local contribution.
By the state, right?
Right,
Yeah, but that's on almost worthless.
I know calculations, like, but
If anybody did minimum local contribution, they wouldn't be able to run a school system.
but the discretionary, which was 2 million last year, went to 2.3 plus this year. You know, roughly, I mean, 12,
Because the
13%.
state funding is lagging behind the increases. So as the district increases, you know, costs go up, the funding from the state goes up, what is it, $25 or $50 per student? It doesn't keep up, so
Were
the,
they hoping for 75
gap.
this year or something?
well, there's, every year there's talk about increasing it, and it ends up about the same place. But the bottom line is that the gap between the state funding and the expenses of the school district keeps growing because of this hold harmless situation at this.
Not to get too deep into it, but do you know if they carried something in their assessment letter for negotiation?
I understand that they have put in consideration for some type of an increase. I don't know what.
Because you don't want to tip your hand either, right?
So they have put something into their budget request that, you know, anticipates an increase on the salary side. What that amount is and how close they are on the bargaining, I don't know.
I asked them, that's not close.
So, I mean, that obviously creates the possibility of them arriving at a bargain number that's not budgeted, in which case they'd have to be looking at their E&D. One of the discussions that we had in the operations subcommittee, I want to say in January, at the very first meeting, I actually asked, it was before the new assistant superintendent, there was an interim that was there. I said, what does a school district need as a excess and deficiency? What should you be carrying? And I think they agreed that a $500,000 E&D would be appropriate, given the size of their budget and the potential for, the big potential is the move-ins with special ed and expensive IEPs. I mean, that can be a couple $100,000 with a single student. So, you know, on a $55 or $60 million budget, carrying a $500,000 E&D is seemed pretty reasonable. So that, I believe, is what they have anticipated with their number they've budgeted, you know,
That's the target that they would leave, that's the floor, basically.
that I believe is what they've left in their E&D with this assessed number that they've presented.
I thought there was a motion, but it didn't even get a second. I thought,
There was,
yeah,
to increase the amount applied from E&D to the current budget. That was not supported.
right.
I don't go to these meetings, I just kind of pay attention to what's happening there.
Fast forward.
So more to come.
Okay,
I guess,
what are their,
All right,
where are they?
now, we're on schedule. We can go.
No, that clock is not right.
It's 6:21.
6:21. All right, well, why don't we start?
do you want to change the date of this?
Well, won't we, are we going to talk about the budget or the warrant? Or both?
We're here at your invite.
Why don't we talk the warrant first, that way when the others get here, because the numbers, they're more. All right. So as you know, we're looking at the consent agenda
I
part.
just saw that, yeah. And will you have a discussion before that? I mean,
I think Rick's got a PowerPoint and everything ready for
good enough, okay, yeah,
Rick with a PowerPoint?
Could be. Doesn't move, though. Hand-drawn slides.
One of the overhead projectors.
Oh, the old one.
Must be able to find one of those somewhere.
It's probably still there. And so,
Well, the consent agenda, has promise. That can make town meeting more efficient, without losing anything.
so the first
Get the budget.
6 things are pretty rote.
Yeah.
Budget. Enterprise, I don't have a number yet. That's something I'll probably, as soon as the new lady is coming in Tuesday?
Next Monday.
Monday. Something I'll sit down with Jane and her so we get this a sense, because that will still remain under the auspices of who's in that room. I would anticipate, though, that we are going to need a bit from the levy. We did see an increase coming through in the McNamara contract for this year.
Okay.
That's not supported by increased bag fees. We did that last year, so
How much of a gap is?
how much you got?
Not much.
Not enough.
I would say, I think last year we put 10 in,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna be any less than that. But it's not a bag year, so that's good.
I noticed all the boxes up there, last week, I think it was, yeah. All right, well, you'll have a number for.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go ahead and,
Hearing?
the revenue that we get from the solar field up there, if you want to turn that right over to the enterprise fund, then we won't need any.
I would hope not. Yeah,
That revenue is projected when it's fully operational as $150 a year.
oh, it's up to 150 now.
Yeah, because it's two split between
Lease,
lease and
pilot.
pilot.
Wow. That's good.
When
As much as I really don't like solar fields,
Next week?
we
mean, had about-
generate a lot of revenue for the town.
I think Kelly had thrown out a number of 500,000, and,
I actually heard a larger number from one of the assessors.
yeah. Yeah, that was last year, so, before this one kicked in. Oh, well.
So you'll know when the solar's on, when all the lights in town dim. Oh, they turned it on.
The windmill right over the canal. 150, as you know, we're going to look for 10 again. I think after the town meeting, Don and I talked about sometime during the summer, putting out the call for a committee that would like to step up. But that is 3 years, so sometimes tough to get people enthused for 3 years. Yeah. We're all good at the beginning and like, another meeting, oh golly. Yeah. And tough to book anything. You book something, like, I need you for 2028. I'm like, I don't even know if I'll be alive in
But, people can do some, people can do some brainstorming.
Right, well, I've been doing some research, and you probably same thing, what have other towns done?
Right.
What was I think Rockland just had their 150, things like that, so we'll see what they do and do it better. School resource, I think Brian got the number in the typical 11 or 12,000, right?
$12,629.
Yeah. No prior bills. Are you up to speed on the veteran thing?
I heard an explanation.
That took us 2 meetings to do.
2 long meetings.
The second meeting, we were like, oh, that's not what we understood last time.
Well-
Because when we heard 100%, we thought it was like 100% of the whole bill, and it's not. It's 100% increase to the current exemption,
Right.
which is 400 or,
$440.
So it doubles the exemption.
right, but not erases the whole bill. So,
So a veteran can get a $440 credit on their taxes?
right, and this could increase it by some percentage, up to 100%, depending on how it's voted. Right.
I mean, it all helps, but I mean, it's not.
No, because we were a little like, so I think they said a potential impact, did they say around 40,000? Don?
Yeah, 42, I thought 42 was
Yeah,
6.
if, with their current assessment of veterans and their bill, and if we went for the full 100%.
And everyone applied for it.
And it will come out of overlay
Right,
reserve,
it has
basically.
to be an increase to the overlay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, advisory, we have not discussed it, but I mean, personally, I'm in favor of it. I mean, I support veterans.
Right, again, it doesn't technically show up here, comes off the overlay, but that comes off the recap.
How it all flows through, it affects taxes, no question.
Right. 13, I think, pretty self-explanatory. 14, Brian's got some numbers, he's got new ones today, or,
The moving costs?
yeah, I mean, you got two different quotes, right, Brian? Up
Yeah.
and high and low.
Yeah, I've gotten moving quotes from 3 different movers and also a specialty mover for the library. It's gonna, the ask would be around 80,000.
And it could be less than that, but they're covered at 80.
Right, yes. Yeah, the more packing we do, the cheaper it gets. Quite honestly, the more stuff we do ourselves, the cheaper.
That could be the first meeting of the 150th
Right.
committee.
Yeah,
We need you to go through all these historical items, pack them in these boxes.
Yeah, really, and carefully, very carefully.
Careful.
Use
and the more we
antique-
can legally
use the
shred,
antique
the
boxes,
less we'll
please.
pay.
That last one there, Brian, 15, we got a couple quotes Brian just sent us for some AV and
Cameras?
door control work, and I have to tell you, this may sound silly, but all that stuff comes from overseas, and I just wonder what today's thing is gonna do to those quotes. I know the people at Valley, and they get their stuff from, not Pittsburgh.
No.
you know. So I worry that those no quotes we just got aren't worth the digital paper they were printed on.
What did they give us for a quote, if I can ask you again?
It was right up there. One was 50.
Cameras
one
were
was-
30, around 35,000, and the access control
Was 52.
was
52, yeah.
around 50-something thousand.
Which,
So I have a spreadsheet of costs, and I think it really warrants a discussion at some point, and maybe it's an advisory committee meeting about the approach to moving it to TWB, because, yeah, we have, I have all these cost estimates. I have cost estimates for all new switches and wireless access points and all those types of things, and, we're trying to do this as cheaply as possible, but make sure we get a good product in the end. So, some of the stuff might not need to be done immediately, and some of the stuff does, depending on the availability of funds. We could spend a lot of money over there, but do we have to? No.
well, I think as soon as we're putting people there, the security concerns are pretty apparent. And the door control, we talk about different paths that go into the library as opposed to going into, that's gonna have to be a thing.
There's quite a few exterior doors over there.
I'm sure Brian has been working with Scotty, maybe there's a safety grant or something like that that would help with that.
Yeah, the current proposal from Valley has access control on 5 exterior doors, with the rest locked from the outside, and I believe it's 9 interior doors. We would separate out, the way that it's laid out currently is the library would have a separate access area, Parks and Rec would have a separate access area in the back, and the rest would be the administrative offices.
So that would allow it to be compartmentalized, hopefully.
Yeah, so those
Yeah.
three
But they may actually,
departments really have unique operating hours.
Yeah, they're different hours.
Brick walls in between.
it's not just the controls too, there are places where you actually may have to put in another set of doors.
That's, what-
Because if they have 3 out of 5 classrooms, all of a sudden, the one down here isn't gonna do it. Now you gotta put another control set right here.
right,
So those are separated out. And we all know the library area. There are many exits from the library that could go into a part that's not under the library control. The hallway on the golf course end,
Right.
which is next to the library, extra, would not be part of the library part, so that would have to be controlled off, things like that.
Well, everything's not gonna get done all at once. No, it's a big building with a lot of
And it's
issues.
never as easy as you thought it was gonna be
No,
before you started.
no.
And I think
It was in your house.
that's the approach I would like to take, is there are, for different types of improvements, there are different grant funding that's available.
Okay.
There's energy improvement grants that the town could, but all these timelines for these different types of grant programs are annuals, right? So we're not gonna catch all of them at once. And then we've had conversations about solar on the rooftop as well. That's a couple of years out. Fortunately, we're going to participate in the shared grant for regional energy manager with, I think, 15 other towns through the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. So we'll have, it was like 15 hours a week
Yeah, 15 hours a week.
of staff time, and that's, the board had talked about that being one of the priority projects, is to
Yeah.
figure out what to do with that, and maybe we can fold in the roof costs
Yeah, exactly.
at the time we do software. So there's a lot of different options that,
Big roof. Well, maybe Great Horse would pay us something to not put panels up there.
Hey, which way are you pointing them? Right at the clubhouse, there you go.
Get that glare right on the tee and on the green.
The two lawnmower things, as you're aware, Mark wants one, Park and Rec wants one. Obviously, any department, we endorse any department coming forward. I certainly have some questions about the need for the Park and Rec lawnmower. They have a lawnmower. Then they got a truck so they can bring it back and forth from the park. And now that's too much trouble. I'd like to keep one at the school. If we sell the truck and the trailer, we should be able to get that lawnmower.
Yeah.
But I don't understand, that lawnmower was good enough to do both before. Maybe if Mark is getting a new lawnmower, how bad is his old one? Maybe instead of trading it in, you leave it at Park and Rec.
Can't imagine so much trade-in value on those.
I understand, but maybe, Mark, the highway department is gonna be mowing the bulk of Thornton Burgess.
Right.
This is just, and we've all been involved in sports, this is the occasional one when, oh, there's a soccer game scheduled, the school department mowed the field 3 days ago, we'd like it knocked down a bit before the soccer game, and they go out and mow the soccer field. It's not the whole property. So we've all been parents where we've gone and done that for our kids, right? So we're not looking for the three-tier.
What number did Parks and Rec submit for the mower?
It wasn't a small number.
it was between 20, it was similar line with Mark's.
Yeah.
But they give a range of 22 to 25. I have a note of 25.
$22,000?
Yes,
Well,
20,
I'm saying, this begs the question, where are you keeping it?
Seriously?
No, I mean, you have that little tiny shed next to the basketball, where are you keeping this lawnmower?
Let me double check,
That kind of lawnmower for
you're,
occasional field mowing.
what was it that you saw, 20 to 22?
23.
Anyhow,
Highway?
they put it on there.
20.
I'm certainly not a fan of it. I'm not sure about Tom, but I think in this tight budget year, I think it's got to be a pretty good rationale for it.
Yeah, I think.
Senior center.
Probably gonna be-
Gary came in at
I have a Cub
220.
Cadet at home, which I can,
Yeah, there you go. Don's looking for extra income. With Mrs. Davenport.
I'll take 500.
I think she can walk behind one.
Oh, walk behind, you're a nice guy. My mother had that old real one
It's like an exercise.
That's right.
with the senior center, perfect, right through the path.
It's gonna be a matter of adjusting to the new arrangement before we invest a lot of money like that.
Yeah, I don't see it being a priority. Senior, Gary came in with a number, correct me if I'm wrong, about 220, 225?
It was 220, I think.
Yeah,
210.
210.
yeah.
I had a call into him yesterday, he hasn't gotten back to me.
And he did have a little carry in there just in case things went up. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I think that's
that's wise, very wise.
This is roof, bathrooms, and some windows.
roof, bathrooms, all of the windows, and repair to the septic system.
I thought that was a pretty good number for a roof myself. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Pretty
yeah,
impressive, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there is there's some caveats in there also, if the plywood is damaged due to leakage and things of that nature.
We also have some heat coils up there too, up in the front part.
Oh, I know, yeah, for the ice, yes, okay.
Is there an issue with the heat and the air conditioning there too, or not?
There is a concern with that, not addressed in this number here.
Okay.
And there is,
There'd be more of an opportunity to take care of it. If we were expanding, great, let's do it all at once.
Yeah, okay.
there is some, we're waiting for the lighting survey, which we may come back at, and I'm saying we, mean the Center Building Committee, may come back in the fall for some improvements there, or,
All about getting a really good deal from the state. I mean, they used to have a nice 80-20 and now it's 20-80. Yeah,
no,
yeah. We did this building once back when it was 80-20. It was a terrific deal. We paid 20% of the cost of upgrading to T12s. They took care of the ballast upgrades and everything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
fire station repair done. You had some numbers from, their meeting, was it tomorrow night or something like that? Get the final number?
It's tomorrow night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be a lot.
Yeah,
A big number for fire.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to even say a number because it might be wrong.
Right.
So
Right.
it's more than $1 million.
The way that it's currently written, it would be Prop 2.5 debt exclusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you foresee the senior center being an exclusion vote? Or
No.
just,
Garrett, Dick was pretty saying
Yeah.
that for 200, no.
He was comfortable with that.
Okay.
Not back in the day when the dump truck at 200 was a vote at the town, at the election. Now it's like, meh, you want one, you want two? It's, right. Oh, my gosh. The 3 articles from the school for Green Meadows, we talked briefly about the second one. The first one, I think nobody has a problem with flooring repair. That's been a ongoing maintenance thing. I did like how the original one was just under the number they had to do, so they quickly threw in another classroom to make it
That's what I'm
hit the
voting.
35 limit.
As soon as Don said something.
I'm voting no,
another
I'm voting
$5,000.
no on this, I'm telling you right now.
I know
Take one
that
classroom off.
they were doing, they've been doing this
Yeah,
for a number of years, as part of their maintenance. But-
right. So keep it down under 35 and knock off 5 rooms instead of 6.
Well, I think what the school committee's, attempting to do is to free up more cash for their operating budget by
I
moving
understand.
stuff out into capital.
It's nice.
Yeah,
It's nice of,
we'd like to free up some cash too.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about the parking lot and Fire Road, not just because I'm on butter.
it's a waste of
IT
money.
switches, well, I can't find a rationale. Switches, I mean,
Can anyone explain to you what an IT network switch is?
yes.
Yeah.
You've seen them in the closet, right?
Goes-
It's, where all the Cat 5 cables go in.
It's a black box.
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
They get old quick, that's all I know.
We're in there. Don, get 'em.
From my research, it's 10 years.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah,
Why?
they must
I mean, I got,
currently,
Land
internal,
it's electric, right? I got fixtures in my house that are 50 years old, they still work.
That's right.
You should think about replacing them.
Can replace them every 10 years, they'd be broke.
When Tom Edison gave that bulb to you, you said.
I kept
"Thank
it,
you,
I
Tom."
kept that bulb. I don't understand, what is the switch, what does it do?
The schools spend a lot of money on network switches. And I asked the same question, and it has to do with the connectivity of all of the various parts of
It is,
the
it
computer.
is a lifetime thing. I've got these in my office and they will fail, and the cables will fail.
And if I understand it correctly, and Brian, please correct me if I'm wrong, it has to do with the technology advancing, and the old technology, the old switches don't have the capacity to handle the new bandwidth.
Oh, the old built-in obsolescence thing.
Well, I mean, the first switches came out, they were 10-100, or actually 10s, then 10-100. Now it's all gigabit switches. And with what's going through them now, with so much video going on and stuff like that, you can't get by
Yeah.
with barely a 1 gigabyte switch. And the fact that every classroom now has so much connectivity going into it, plus I imagine their access points.
The whole building,
Right.
all the students, all the staff, everybody's connecting to this internet over there. I mean,
Is that necessary?
One-
How often do they use it? Do we keep a law?
that's a discussion, if the school committee is meeting tomorrow night, that's a discussion for them.
It's the truth.
No,
This is a discussion for them too, but I have to say it.
yeah, no,
If all the psychologists and everyone says, you gotta keep kids off those screens. You can't be having, look at the screens all day. Why does every frickin' thing in the school on the screen?
that was my question before. How many books you been buying the past couple of years?
You're not supposed to ask questions like that.
Okay, all right, I just wanna make sure.
But this goes to Brian's point earlier, that the need of the school in terms of that throughput, I think is different than the town hall.
Yeah.
It's like, they tried to upgrade us at the office, and I said, we check email, we're not online, we don't have an online business, we don't need gigabyte stuff like a school would. I don't think the town hall does either, we don't have, we check email, we have a couple
All
of
the
websites.
students have been issued Chromebooks. I mean, the connectivity is unbelievable. Now, whether it's good or bad is another discussion. Fact is, it is, and, this is what's necessary to operate it.
Yeah, okay,
I mean, the Minichog things
that's a no.
are, no, the Minichog things, Don, you've been to the meetings more than I, and everything but the, I'm not hugely up on the Kubota thing, so.
Well,
I mean, is the one they have bad, or?
I know that one of the advisory committee members here thinks they should get a bigger one.
Was he heard this at home or something? Or- I mean, do they have one now?
Two.
They
How
have
many do
one
they
now?
have?
It's a, I've
Well,
heard,
they got 4 schools over there, maybe.
I've heard they had 3, but from a letter that I got, this was a replacement for one that they have, and they have no others, but I'm not sure, that's, I
We want to
get the letter.
get some
that's clarified.
clarification on it.
Yeah.
It's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big item.
Right.
It's more the idea, frankly.
And you lose your credibility when you.
Well, we have other departments that are
Yeah.
skimping and doing without.
Yeah. And as, I'm a big, I don't believe in it, but, as Doug said, in the grand scheme of things, it's, it's very small, but again, it's,
All right.
where do you,
The lease amendment is basically when we did a lease for the solar property at the landfill. For whatever reason, they came in and drew a line around where the panels were, when they should have just gone to the edge of the property. When they went to put the fence on the slope part next to Crossroad, DEP said, we'd like it a little further away, really don't go on the slope. Well, they did, it's outside, the line was drawn, can we move the line so it covers the thing? Why didn't you just bring it to the edge of the property before?
So
But either
it's
way.
really a housekeeping.
It's housekeeping. The fence is up, DEP signed off, Concom signed off.
It could generate some discussion just because people have such strong emotions about these solar fields, but
It could be like, it could be like the cemetery fence from years ago. Oh, exactly. We'll never forget that one. Speaking of which, here's another CPA thing.
there we go.
North Road thing, which is gonna be like the
What? So I thought
Tony thing that went on for,
we did this already.
oh, yes,
They did.
yeah.
Okay.
The town appropriated the funding, but it didn't authorize the sale. Because they were selling the property at the
Okay.
time before.
They had to have the description.
Article 30 is you, Doug.
I'm sorry?
Article 30 is you.
Yeah, Article Conservation, Article 30, Community Preservation, there's 2 articles, 2 requests this year. One is from Parks and Rec for some shade structures inside of the fence for the spray park on the grass. I can't remember if it's 22 or 23,000.
On 22.
2 structures with permanently installed metal posts, and then a detachable, like umbrella type thing on the top that would get stored. So that's the first one. The second one is a request from the Land Trust for trail access off of North Road onto this property. So we'll be doing a cut in off of the road, creating a parking area, probably like a little kiosk type thing, and start the trail.
There's some slope there.
27, I think it was, is that right, Brian?
I gotta say, and I wasn't at the CPA meeting last time because we had our select meeting the same night. But, and you and I have had this conversation before, you have the 3 mandated areas: open space, historical preservation, and affordable housing. Then they came in with some limited recreation stuff. We got to do more for housing. We've got to do more for housing. And then historical, we talked to Connie for years about, hey, how about something on the, I'd like to, before the 150, spend some money on the historical, upgrade the statue. We already gave the Kenan away, sorry, Don, but, that type of thing, that's gonna be, I think, the focus, going forward. But you're right, these are the people that come in the door and ask for it. So
What can we do for housing, though? What could be some things we could do for
we
housing?
talked about the fact that we've got, as part of the set aside, in terms of percentage of unused in this point, that could be the match towards something. The town has to pony up, just like we've done with some of the projects in MVP, where we had to put 50 in to get a grant of 500. Now, of course, with the latest things happening with housing projects being cut, or grants being cut, that may not be as possible, but we always thought that could be a seed to something else.
Okay.
The CPA money that we've spent in the affordable housing category has all been over at the,
Maintenance only, really.
well, over at the housing authority.
Right, but maintenance.
Well, the very first one was for an engineering study because they were looking at a potential expansion. This was like 20 years ago. And it wasn't that much money, but the study came back and said that it didn't have the land didn't have the capacity.
Because of the
to support
septic
it.
field. Yeah.
Right. And then after that, it's been primarily, capital upgrades,
There were some
all the
locks.
locks. I
And
think
some tubs work.
might have been some walk-in shower things.
Air conditioner.
There was some roof work too.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just here and there. I mean, no real big expenditures.
It doesn't expand it, though, that's the problem, keeping them. So, that's just my 2 cents. And then Don, batteries.
And actually, Diva Met has been on, she's been the Housing Authority member on CPA for years, and she said that she's not going to be able to continue,
Yeah, up and down.
unfortunately, so.
Battery area, John or Don?
You done with that, right? The battery thing's done, waiting for
We're,
Rose?
yeah, I'm kind of arm wrestling with Rose, but, yeah.
And same thing for ADU?
Yeah, ADU, yes, yeah. There's some suggestions that,
But again, same thing, these aren't, we're not killing new ground, we've got other communities to base these off of, right?
well, we did, and Rose said no.
Okay.
So,
On the battery.
on the battery, yeah, the battery,
Is she reinventing the wheel?
well, I think she's just trying to keep us from getting a lawsuit, but, I'm,
Good idea.
It's gonna sue us.
everybody's gonna sue us.
I know, it's
Realistic.
I think the key to the battery, if it passes town meeting, is a cover letter explaining the purpose, the reason why, that we have a limited fire department, we don't have water pressure, we have aquifers, we have woodlands, we have wells, and that's why we need to protect all this stuff from a potential of a runaway battery fire.
Yes.
Which does happen,
Absolutely. Something,
Because I looked at, excuse me, John, but I looked at the Wendell and some of the other ones that were rejected, and that's the reason why. The AG said, you didn't give us a real purpose.
so, okay, we'll have to work on that because it's going to,
Yeah,
Public hearing.
Once it passes town meeting, then a cover letter with the,
Yeah. Background. all the-
yeah, or put it into it.
So in Wendell, it passed at town meeting, but was rejected by the AG?
yes. Yeah.
So,
Because they limited it to one area of the town. And they didn't give a reason why they limited it to that area of the town.
yeah,
The same thing happens in some other towns too. The AG is really, and this is a guy who worked for 24 years, they're really off the mark on this, that, I mean, they're saying that if Wilbraham, if I own a battery company, it's battery storage, and I put it in Hampden, and I build a road from East Long Meadow to Hampden, that road can't be stopped because it's part of the battery thing.
oh, yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
that's the Tracer Lane decision.
So they're both with the attorney at this point?
they are.
Okay. What do you think about reserve fund? You're gonna ask for the full 25?
Well, we haven't talked about it, but,
Why not?
yeah.
In for a penny, for a pound?
We got almost all of our numbers in. Yeah. We'll see. This might be a year where we put in a smaller number.
Like before the 5-20
Yeah.
split?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we'll see. And obviously, same with the last two are assuming the stabilization. But,
You're putting your spreadsheet together, and obviously looking at all the different components to it, obviously a large increase in county retirement, et cetera. I know we had a levy capacity of over $1 million. With what's going on, and obviously, like Brian said, a couple things going outside that, do you think we're tapping too far into our levy limit? Or we have no option?
My understanding of the levy, we're at about 1.3 million in excess capacity. And in terms of operating budget, the town cannot put an override on until we've exhausted that excess. So the increase in the operating budget, and these are just rough numbers, I don't wanna get quoted on that. Sarah, if you're listening, is about 1.2, about a 7.5% increase on the operating budget. Now, that does not include any of the other articles that we've discussed tonight.
That's not the warrant articles, that's strictly.
One article, this is just the budget,
Which is inclusive of the school number.
inclusive of the school number.
Exclusive of the school number, what's your ballpark increase?
About,
600?
yeah, about 650,
Yeah.
600, 650,
So it's almost 50%
Yeah.
in and out.
yeah. But the 1.5 million is the excess capacity that we also will have new growth, we'll have our 2.5. We don't have the new growth number yet, but, you know, the 2.5 will probably be in the range of 250,000, 275, something like that. So there'll be enough capacity here to avoid an override issue. But if all of this passes, and, you know, obviously it depends on the fall, what we do in terms of reducing the tax rate. I mean, speaking personally, because we've only discussed this briefly on advisory, but I've spent some time kind of thinking about this. I like to retain some of that excess capacity, because if we spend it out, then in the next year and the year following, we have almost no leeway. And given what's going on with, you know, inflationary pressures, can assume that we're gonna be looking at budgets that are gonna be well above 2.5% for at least the next few years.
How much, after we did the transfer for the water project, how much did we leave in stabilization? Under $1 million or right around? No, we took 600 out for that.
Yeah,
We took some out for the,
I wanna say we're about 1.3. That sound right, Brian? Is that 1.3 in stabilization?
Definitely, yep.
Yeah. I mean, we're in good shape on that. But we also have another roughly 500,000 in the water district that'll be coming into the next budget.
one good thing is our bid actually came in lower than we had budgeted, so.
But I mean, the pressures on the finances are unrelenting. I mean, and looking over the numbers that we have, there's very little discretionary money in here. I mean, the vast majority of it are mandated figures that we have to meet.
Well, when you get a hit.
Negotiating county retirement, Don, I know that's one of your favorites.
Yeah, yeah,
We get a bill.
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, the health insurance, the insurance, I mean, you know, the insurance on TWB.
Yeah, that's one thing. I will say, the health insurance, I don't think they fight hard enough. I mean, we do it every year at work, and we're always looking at new plans and possibly changing some. I just think they just take here's your number, and, okay.
Well, I know Dick is, you know, he's at the rep to
know.
Scantic Valley.
I got it, but I don't think they negotiate like they should. Shop it around. I mean, you know, Blue Cross, I'm throwing a name out. Hey, your increase is gonna be 9%. Oh, golly, thank you. Well, really, I'm gonna call Fallon. I'm gonna call Tufts. I'm gonna call Harvard. I bet they'd like our business with 3,000 people in it or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know enough what the Scantic Valley Trust does or doesn't do with regards to that, but, I mean, everybody else, you know, you have to get into plan design issues.
I know,
You have to tweak it, and I'm not sure if they're doing that, I don't.
But also, they don't get the ACA charge that companies do. They're exempt from the ACA, so, you know, that's 3% extra that they're not having to pay.
So a
My
lot
favorite
of
subject.
big numbers.
What's your favorite subject?
Increases this year.
What's your favorite one?
No, he said the Hampden County Retirement Board.
I thought you were gonna talk about the generator.
You
I'm
should-
sorry.
No, generator, they finally got the generator done. It only took a year and a half.
Is it working?
Not yet.
Mounted.
They put fuel in it, they put fuel in it.
Okay, good.
They gotta test it.
Let's not rush it.
Come on.
Schedule the startup.
Right.
It's gonna be ready for the 150th.
PERIC released their, PERIC is doing an audit of the Hampden County Retirement Board again. And there's two situations that they have. One is that they've had a lot of data problems for the last year and a half, and they don't know if their data is right.
like data corruption type of thing?
Yeah, you know, the data, they transfer it to a new system, they had a lot of data problems, and they don't know if the data is right. So which therefore, there's a couple of us that are saying, well, you don't know if our assessment's right,
Kind of follows, doesn't it?
you know? And so PERIC, the executive director of PERIC was at their last meeting to discuss that with them, and they have another audit. But PERIC released their standings of the, in 2025 of the funding level, and the Hampden County Retirement Board is the fourth lowest at 54% funding, compared to other regional ones that are at 80% and 90% funded. We're at 50,
So no relief from the assessment
no relief for assessment for years.
for years. I'll catch up.
Right. The worst in the country, the worst in the state is Springfield, they're at 41%.
That's what happens when you promise and underfund.
Yeah. All right, any questions for us?
Now, the only question was on the fire budget. The fire have been reclassified.
Yes.
The, so, actually, we just got the numbers today, as to what the new figures are. Is that, is that inconsistent with Collins, or did you do this independent of that?
I think we found a place to equate it.
We found a place to equate it on Collins. Collins hadn't done it originally, they weren't on there. So we took their you know,
Our template.
and a place that we thought was based on experience and.
The only thing we don't have done, we have not completed the highway union at this point. Brian, do we have a,
But you put,
estimate on that?
you put 2.5 in for them, right?
I asked Mark to put into it.
Yeah,
but we haven't completed those yet.
Yeah.
so that's another one out there.
Yeah.
So I thought the fire department, they did it after the Collins study. They went back and said, can you take a quick look and give us,
Yeah, we didn't though.
they didn't do that?
I don't know,
We can find out.
no.
Isn't that our understanding that they did, or?
No, a lot of that was run through Bob and sometimes.
Yeah.
On the last page of the report, there is a recommendation from Collins, but it acknowledged that they didn't have very good comparables. Couldn't find very good comparables based on
The fact that they're,
Okay.
they're not called full-time, daytime firefighter situation. They found that to be quite unique, actually.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of that. That's what the report said, but it was prior to my time.
Right.
and then the ambulance contract, we're putting a rider in. There's some legislation that they feel may increase the reimbursements. If they do, that'll benefit the town. But on the other hand, if Medicaid cuts the things, that'll be worse for the town. So we got putting a rider on that, but it was, the number is good for now, this year.
Which is a good number.
Yeah, they do a good job for us, you know.
Has there been any more discussion with the fire department about the ambulance, or?
No.
That's pretty much,
The ambulance has been sold.
oh, it's gone.
Yeah, it's been sold.
Make room for the generator.
I'll make room for the 450,000 big truck.
The ambulance is
Brush
sold.
truck.
Oh,
Yeah, they had a request from another department that could use it all the time, so.
sure,
Yeah.
good. All right, I don't have anything further, you guys?
No, thank you. Evening.
Anything else?
What else we got?
We meet again, well, next Monday at advisory. Tomorrow night, we're, some of us are meeting with the school committee. We're not posted, because we're not going to be meeting as advisory. They're invited. We won't be deliberating.
And the 14th is the hearing.
And the 14th is our hearing.
What's the 16th? You hear something on the 16th that we're supposed to do?
I have jury duty.
What?
I have jury duty.
I got nothing.
You've got that on your calendar, don't you, Don?
No, I know 16th is the hearing for the planning board.
Correct, that's planning board hearing for B.
I will say,
I have jury duty.
and in those content,
right day.
there's the auditorium booked for that day.
should be interesting.
Because they have us listed as
Do I have to arm wrestle?
arm wrestle, yeah. Joanne and Bonnie,
Bonnie? I'm not sure
Lori.
who's taking precedence, whatever. Don't know.
Okay. So 14th for you.
We'll have
So-
a budget, for a preliminary budget for you probably Tuesday of next week.
I know this comes up every year. So, Don, what do you think we start our meeting in here and keep the Zoom going for their public hearing? I know you're not a huge Zoom.
That's fine, I mean,
Okay.
the public hearing, I think is good. I wish more people would attend.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to have an informal conversation about very real things.
And
Great, all right.
All righty.
you can always read about on Facebook what you did wrong.
Wolverhampton. I have nothing to report.
I have nothing to report.
Brian?
We submitted the apply to the one-stop program for the $1 million for the DWB improvements. Those applications are due in June. So that's an expression of interest, so they'll give us comments back on to what grant program we could apply to. That's it.
Lauren? Lauren,
I have nothing tonight.
how about you? Nothing? Mr. Chair, could I submit a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks. What are we signing? So we're not signing this? Or we're changing the date?
I think we gotta change the date, yeah.